Bust down my shooter. Saw more wires than a bomb diffuser. Take a jet to the jungle, was healing my soul.
Leon Edwards vs. Sean Brady takes place this weekend at UFC London. We will be giving our full card breakdown and predictions from the bottom to the top, starting off with Guram Kutateladze versus Quay Fernandez. An interesting fight here in the lightweight division. Guram has had a little bit of a shaky start for his UFC run, as long as it's been. With 4 fights in the promotion, he's 2-2, with an impressive debut win over Mateusz Gamrot. But his 2 fights following that, he lost a split decision to Damir Ismagulov and then TKO'd in the 3rd round by Elvis Brenner. In his last fight, though, he recently picked up a win over Jordan Vucenic. However, Vucenic was stepping in on short notice, 10 days notice to be exact, and fighting up a weight class. And in that fight, Guram got dropped early in the 1st round and hurt real bad, if you can remember that. And he ended up rallying through. The wrestling saved him. He just got by round 2. Like, the judges would have just gave him that 2nd round. He clearly won the 3rd round and took home a 29-28 decision against a very good opponent, Jordan Vucenic. Can't take that away from him. But again, Vucenic making his debut, 10 days notice, up a weight class, getting dropped. It's just not a great look for Guram, the hype that this guy had at one point. It's going to be an interesting fight here because Quay Fernandez, 9-2 with 7 KOs and 2 submissions. Both of his submissions are by armbar. And when this fight, it's going to hit the ground, obviously, because I think that Guram is going to be looking to mix in the wrestling. He has to if this is a complete kickboxing fight. I think that this is Quay Fernandez's fight to win. The odds have Guram as a -460 to a +320 Quay Fernandez. All the value in the world is on Quay Fernandez to win this fight. I understand that it's Guram's easiest fight to date and a step down in competition, definitely compared to his last couple fights. But Quay Fernandez has all the confidence in the world coming off a round 1 KO over Muhammad Yahya, and his only loss before then was to Mark Jacasey in his UFC debut by split decision, where he was dominated on the ground with 8 minutes of control time. So that again is why Guram's path to victory here is the wrestling. I'm going to take Guram personally to win a 30-27 decision. However, the Quay Fernandez knockout is definitely live throughout this whole fight.
I think Guram probably takes it by decision, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have much else to say about it. I completely forgot about the Elvis Brenner fight, actually. Didn't he get cardio fraudish checked in the 3rd round there? Like, I kind of forget what happened, honestly.
It was really weird. Like, Guram dominated him the first 2 rounds. I think he dropped Brenner too with a dirty elbow, I believe, against the fence. But yeah, he started to fade a little bit in that 3rd round, and there was just one shot that kind of landed to his temple, and it shut him down, kind of like that Shane Burgos, Edson Barbosa. Not as delayed. It wasn't as delayed, but it was it shut him down. You could tell, and just a weird. You kind of have to question his chin now. He's 34 years old, 33 years old, almost 34.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and I mean, Father Time at 155 isn't too nice. So
yeah,
I'm still gonna take him to win. He's a big favorite for a reason, right? So I'm gonna take him to win probably a comfortable decision, but it could be a little bit shaky depending on how his IQ and what his game plan here is.
I can get behind a decision, definitely. If it goes the other way, I think Quay probably knocks him out, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, I think a decision's valid for that. Safe pick, almost.
Yeah. On to our next fight here. We have a sick fight in the bantamweight division between Nathan Fletcher and Callum Loughran. The Irishman here looks to save his job, in my opinion.
100%.
Yeah. So he's 1-2 in the promotion. He made his UFC debut against Taylor Lapilus, and he lost a unanimous decision there in France, if I can remember that. And Taylor Lapilus getting cut from the UFC recently, 6-2 overall, 3-1 in his most recent stint. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I don't agree with that one bit. I actually like Taylor too. He definitely had an interesting fight style. I think we talked about it in the last video that we made, but yeah, he definitely had an interesting fight style. But I don't know. I liked it. I thought he was good. I thought he could hop over the couple setbacks that he's had and be able to keep doing good after that. But I guess they did not see that in Dana and Hunter's eyes. So
his setbacks, They weren't. I'm kind of blanking on who he lost to in his recent stint, but I know it was someone solid, and he was on a 2-fight winning streak before getting cut. So it's just like, I don't know, something must have happened there behind the scenes if I had to guess.
That's valid, yeah.
But to get back on to Calvin Loughran here, like that's, again, so losing his debut to Taylor Lapalus, winning a unanimous decision in his next fight against Angel Pacheco. We haven't seen Pacheco fight in the UFC since then. Not a great opponent, kind of there for Calvin to win in my opinion. And then in his last fight, it also seemed like a fight he was supposed to win against Jake Hadley, who was moving up a weight class, I believe, on short notice to fight.
Was it on short notice?
I think it was. I'm pretty sure.
Do you know who he was supposed to be fighting or not?
I could pull it up right now.
I don't know. This fight is so tough to pick, man. Like Loughran's fighting for his job pretty much. Fletcher's got something to fight for too. He's in his hometown, so
I just pulled it
home
up here.
country at least.
So he was supposed to fight Ramon Tavares. I remember.
Oh,
we
remember
were fired
that.
up for that matchup.
Ramon would have beat him.
Most likely, yeah. Ramon's pretty quick, so
yeah.
If you have high volume, that seems to kind of be the way to beat Calvin because he fights very slow. The guy's got a really nice base. I like his stance, as many people like to hate on it. Yeah, people hate on his stance, but it's very wide base. He's got that karate Irish stance.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He kind of like bounces around a tiny
He does.
bit.
He does. He sometimes gets a little bit too stationary though, and he's low output. One thing I will say though is he was a champion in Cage Warriors. He was 9-0 or 8-0 I think, and the guy was putting on very impressive, entertaining performances. And when you're fighting for your job here, we kind of need to see that. We haven't seen the output that we were seeing before, and I think that it's going to come in this fight. Not to only talk about Loughran here, but Fletcher, in his UFC debut, he fought Zemanskis Ramaska, I believe his name is. Yeah, he won by a second round arm triangle. Fletcher is heavy on the submission hunting. He's a very good grappler. But he's not too great on the feet. He's one of those guys that when you watch him strike, you can tell that he's really looking to when can I land the takedown because I'm not too comfortable here. He did a solid job in his debut at keeping Ramaska at range, at range and keeping him from not getting hit too much. And he landed, I believe, 4 takedowns in that fight, so he was landing at a good rate. A little fun fact is Calvin Loughran and Fletcher have fought before in the amateurs as well. Fletcher picked up a unanimous decision win. I didn't go back and watch that fight, but both guys were really young. I believe it was 6 years ago, so they were like 20, 21, 22 years old. Coming into this spot though, Fletcher as a slight favorite at -166 compared to Calvin Loughran's +140. I just think that Calvin's got more to give here. He's got a lot more on the line. He's not going to feel as comfortable in his opponent's backyard. And you never know, like these guys that are kind of forcing the grappling. And one thing about Loughran is he has a 100% takedown defense in the UFC. He's never been taken down yet. If Fletcher can't get Loughran to the mat, this is Calvin Loughran by decision all day. Or he can find a KO shot. I think that we can see him get back to his old Cage Warrior routes. And because he needs it. He needs to put on a performance that's going to save his job and keep him entertaining. You got to be entertaining, at least. And he hasn't been that recently. So I'm going to take either Calvin Loughran to win a 29-28 decision or going to find himself an early KO.
I think I did just say downstairs that Fletcher was going to win. Did I say that?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to take Loughran by decision.
Yeah.
I think he's going to show up. When he's got everything to lose like he does, he's, again, fighting for his job pretty much. I think we're going to see the best version of him possible. I feel like he's made at least some improvements after his last one. I mean, that's kind of an embarrassing loss, honestly.
It is.
Jake Hadley up a weight class, short notice. Like, to go out and lose that after having your, like, small, hype-ish kind of train that he had behind him. Like, yeah. I don't know. I thought he had a lot of potential. And I think he still can, and I think he's going to make it back in this fight, honestly. Now I do think that. Might have switched up in the past 30 minutes.
Yeah, it happens, man.
But yeah, give me Calvin by decision, honestly. And I think it might be a 30-27. I think if he can control the pace for the first 2 minutes of the fight, he might cruise to a 30-27, I think.
That's valid. I do think eventually that Fletcher's going to get him to the mat.
That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying earlier when we talked about this the first time.
Yeah. I do think he is going to eventually get him down. However, I just think that Cowan's going to pop right back up. I think that he's going to...
Is 9.6 takedowns a fight? Is that right for Fletcher?
No.
He's
only had one fight in the UFC. It was 4 takedowns. I don't know where they get some of these stats from.
For real.
So Loughran by decision is the pick. Could be an early KO to get some really good swaz on the man.
Yeah.
Moving up to the shittiest fight on the card, we have Shauna Bannon taking on India's only Pooja Tolmar. Shauna Bannon 1-1 in the promotion. She lost her debut to Bruna Brazil, and then in her last one won a split decision over Alice Ardeline. Terrible win there. It was a split decision as well. Pooja Tolmar, on the other hand, coming in, her UFC debut was against Rayani Dos Santos. She won a bullshit split decision, in my opinion. They kind of gifted that one to her because we're trying to get some Indian eyes. We need that population for the UFC a little bit.
And they want that fan base.
Of course. We saw them try it with Anshu Jubli.
Exactly.
And clearly that didn't work. Shout out to Qualin Southfield for that 20-second KO.
For real.
But Pooja Tolmar here, we saw it in her debut. She got gifted a decision win. One thing I will say about her is she's very kick heavy. She's got a solid side kick. She throws it not like Wonder Boy, but it's the same style as Wonder Boy.
Who was that against her first fight?
Who? Pooja?
Yeah.
Pooja's debut is against Rayani Dos Santos.
Okay, I don't know who that is, but I do remember us having a reaction to that, of her getting gifted to it.
Oh,
I remember her being gifted the decision. I don't remember who she fought.
Yeah.
But I do just say that, as you just said that, I did just remember that too.
Yeah.
So she's got something to kind of prove in this fight then.
She does.
Bit. I don't think Shauna Bannon's very good. I think she can definitely make every adjustment and improvement and prove everything she needs to in this fight, but it's probably her fight to win. Again, Shauna Bannon is not very good. I think I've seen her twice. I forget against who, but...
Yeah, it was Bruna Brazil and Alice Ardeline.
Yeah.
And I mean, the odds here, they have Shauna Bannon as a minus 186 compared to plus 144. I just don't know where we're getting these odds from. There's no way that Shauna Bannon should be a minus 186 over anyone. She's slow output. I've seen her throw a jab head kick, and it looked like it was in slow motion. Like, seriously, I'm not lying. She's from Ireland. You'd think that she'd have, they have
exactly.
But I mean, fuck, maybe these Irish guys have low output except for McGregor. So, Callum Loughran and Shauna Bannon here. One thing I will highlight here is that although there's a 1-inch height advantage for Shauna Bannon being 5'5" compared to Pooja's 5'4", the reach advantage, Pooja's got T-Rex arms at a 59-inch reach. I've never heard of 50 in the 50s reach before.
For real.
Compared to Shauna Bannon's 65. However, we don't see Pooja throw crazy hands like that because she throws her side kick as a jab a lot, and people that have a good side kick, they can do that, and I think that she's going to be able to do that against Shauna Bannon and kind of keep her distance, keep her will while still landing solid strikes. And I think she's going to find her way on another split decision win.
Split?
I think it's going to be a split. Yeah.
So you think Bannon's going to do okay then? If a judge is going to give her the win?
We've seen
That's
too many
a tough one.
We've seen too many fights. That Myron Santos fight versus Francis Marshall, it don't matter at this point what happens. You got people going 30-27 both ways.
Facts.
I just think that this is going to be a shitty female MMA fight here. Split decision calls for me. Pooja Tolmar, they're going to give her the nod.
All right, valid.
So Pooja Tolmar split decision is the official pick.
I think we have every fight going decision so far.
Yeah.
Just slow start to the card. In prediction. Slow start to the card, but yeah, give me Tolmar by decision.
I think there were
good odds on it too.
Yeah, I think that we're gonna change the decision streak here though. In our next one, we have Christian CLD Leroy Duncan taking on Andre Pulayev, making his UFC debut. I'll highlight the odds here because they're ridiculous. Minus 650 for CLD to plus 430 Andre Pulayev.
Damn, it doesn't even say that on here, so I didn't even know that.
Yeah. There's a lot to talk about in this fight, though. Andre Pulayev, he's making his UFC debut, obviously. He fought in the Contender Series against, I believe his name is Liam Anderson. He is 6-3 overall, and he won a unanimous decision. Andre Pulayev obviously won that. In that fight, though, Pulayev was a solid underdog. He wasn't expected to win that fight. And the reason why that is because His pro career was a little bit shaky. He's 9-2. I mean, it's obviously a good record, but he has a KO loss in there, and the level of competition, 0-1, 1-0, 2-0, 0-2. He has one guy that he fought that was 38-21. Like, sure, it's a vet, but it's not great, especially in not a high organization. I can't really credit that win too much.
Yeah.
And this guy in the amateurs, he was 3-5. 3-5 in the amateurs, and before turning pro, he was on a 3-fight losing streak.
Could be on some Russian boost hype train now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking here, and I think that this fight is CLD's backyard. We're going for a highlight.
Think he knocks him out then?
I think he knocks him out. I think it's a flashy little breakdown in the second round.
Second?
Yeah.
I think he might get him out in the first, actually.
I think he's going to hurt him bad in the first and then start styling on him in the second. CLD is a flashy kickboxer. He's 3-2 in the promotion. His only losses are to Armin Petrosian by decision and Gregor Rodriguez by decision. His wins, he beat Dennis Tululin by ground elbows. He knocked out Claudio Ribeiro and took out some other can. His wins aren't very great. His wins aren't great, to be honest. His losses are solid, though. Say what you want about Armin Petrosian. When you go kickbox for kickbox, it's going to be a close fight either way. The guy's got really good kickboxing. Either way, though, I just think that this is a levels fight here. I think it's a little bit of a setup fight.
CLD's to win type thing?
CLD's to win. If he loses this one, we got to start thinking about a future in the sport. Yeah. Because, again, Pulayev, he's Russian. He's got that Ev to his name. He's not a ground guy. He's a 6'4" kickboxer. And when it comes to kickboxing, I just think I'm going to take CLD here. He's going to be way more sharp. He's going to be obviously more used to the bright lights. It's in his backyard. Tough debut for Pulayev, so I'm going to take CLD to run through him in the second round.
Give me CLD KO in the first. Flashy highlight too.
It'll be flashy too. I agree with that. Moving up the card here, we have a heavyweight clash in the top 15, I believe, between Marcin Tybura and Mick Parkin. Mick Parkin coming into this one 10-0 compared to Tybura's 26-9. We know this year, though, is the year of the undefeated losing their donuts. It makes you question this one here. It's a prospect versus a grizzled vet, an experienced vet. And there is a Tybura test. It is a thing. You get by Tybura, you probably have a solid future in the heavyweight division. But if you don't, you're kind of just left on the bleachers. We saw it in his last fight versus Jahanta Deniz. He took the step up against Tybura, kind of hurt him a little bit in the first round. But again, Tybura will find his way onto those takedowns, and he started landing ground elbows, split him open real bad, and I believe there's a doctor's stoppage at the end of round 2. An impressive win for Tybura, honestly. Mick Parkin, on the other hand, he's 4-0 in the UFC. We've seen him pick up 3 decision wins over Jamal Pogues, Kyle Machado, and blanking on the other one. I want to pull it up there.
Mix?
Oh, Muhammad Usman. It was Muhammad Usman he also pulled up. So it's Muhammad Usman, Jamal Pogues, and Kyle Machado by decision. And then in his last fight, he picked up a KO win in the first round over Lucas Brzeski. Lucas Brzeski, though, say what you want. I mean, he's just not good. He's, I believe, 1-5 in the UFC. Most of his losses came by KO.
He's 1-5?
I believe so.
Damn.
Yeah, his only win was Walter Walker by split decision. I don't think he won that fight either.
We got guys like that in the UFC, but not Taylor Lapilus.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And we're cutting.
All right.
There was also a heavyweight cut recently. Jarzinho left the UFC. We just cut Rodrigo something de Lima. He got cut recently, but he also fought for steroids.
Really?
Yeah, he did.
I didn't even know that.
He's serving a year suspension, so they cut him too.
Damn.
This fight here is Tybura. Can Tybura mix in the takedowns here? Can he exploit Mick Parkin's takedown defense? Can he work the ground elbows? And it's definitely a possibility. We've seen it one too many times with Tybura. One thing you just have to question, though, is Mick Parkin. The guy's 29 years old fighting a 39-year-old. He's main training partners with Tom Aspinall, who's KO'd Marcin Tybura. The guy's 10-0, coming off his first UFC KO, surging confidence in his backyard. It's tough to pick against Mick here. He's definitely on the climb, and we've seen these odds flip before. When this fight first dropped, Mick was an underdog, and now they're pretty much even odds. I can see Tybura exploiting the ground game, mixing in his takedowns. I don't think he's going to be able to land that kind of ground shot that's going to put out Mick.
No,
I could see the dominance towards a decision win. It would probably be a 29-28 for Tybura. But I'm gonna side with Mick either by KO or decision. I think that a round 2 KO is live. I think that we can crack this 39-year-old's chin who has been KO'd 5 times in the UFC. Or I think that we can just stick to the basics and stick to that jab, the 1-2 and leg kick. Because the thing with heavyweight is sometimes all you need is just these basics, and that's how you win fights. We saw it with not Jailton Almeida to a point, but Jailton's got great grappling, and that's alone is taking him to the top 5. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So just these basic moves in the heavyweight division, the low barrel can win you these fights, and that's what Mick Parkin has been doing. He finally gets that KO, and I think we could be seeing a new version of him here. So I'm going to take Mick Parkin and move up to 11-0 here, defend the battle of the donuts being lost this year, but I think I'm going to take him by a 29-28 decision.
I'm just going to take his money line, honestly. I think there's a value there. It says plus 114 on here. I don't know if it's changed since then.
I think it has a little bit, but...
Yeah, I think if he's still an underdog, then that's valid. Oh, wait, no, you said he's moved to the favorite.
It's like even pretty much.
Okay, I still think that's valid, honestly. I would have assumed that was going to be favorited to Mick Parkin, even though the rankings have him 5 lower than Marcin, but... Yeah, I'm going to take Mick Parkin money line for sure.
What are those rankings, actually?
What do you mean?
What's Tybura?
8 to 13.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got Parkin decision? What would be your official pick?
KO.
KO. Yeah.
But I can see a decision. I think a decision is expected, so I think I'm going to take a KO.
The double chance is valid there.
I think I'm going to take some excessively quick movements in his hometown with the crowd going crazy, and he gets a maybe lucky KO, honestly.
Yeah.
Either beautiful or lucky.
Alrighty, moving up to the flyweight division here. A great prospects matchup between 24 and 25-year-old Lonnie Kavanagh versus Felipe Dos Santos out of Chuta Box. Lots to talk about in this fight here. Kavanagh, 8-0. We've talked about the undefeated, obviously. He's 1-0 in the UFC over a win over... I believe his name is not JJ Ochoa. That's a soccer player. Jose Ochoa. He won a 29-28 decision in that win. Ochoa was 7-0 at the time, also making his UFC debut. And both guys honestly looked like they showed a future in the UFC. They both looked really slick. Both looked very fast. One thing I got to point out is Kavanagh, yes, he has these very impressive knockouts. Obviously, we saw in his Dana White Contender Series and his regional scene. Felipe Dos Santos, on the other hand, though, has been in there with Manel Kape. He's been in there with Andre Lima. He's fought Vitor Altamirano, who's very solid. That's his only win in the UFC. He lost to Andre Lima and Manel Kape, both by decision, and beat Altamirano by decision. However, he's not getting finished in these fights. He had a very competitive fight with Manel Kape. It was a 29-28. He got dropped, but he recovered well. It was one of those knockdowns where he just kind of got knocked down.
Yeah,
He wasn't significantly hurt or anything.
Just an oopsie and you get back up and keep going.
Yeah, and these Chuta Box boys have fucking all the heart in the world. One thing I'm going to say here is Lonnie Kavanagh is very gray. We don't know exactly how he's going to do here in this step up in competition, and the odds have him as a minus 370 favorite, which is just ridiculous. If Felipe Dos Santos can keep that Chuta Box pressure on him, keep just walking him forward into the fence, it's going to stop Kavanagh from all these explosive, bouncy 1-2 combinations, these fast combinations that he's known for, and it could really stir the pot here in this fight. One thing that I will also highlight for Felipe as a weakness is his takedown defense.
Yeah.
He got taken down 9 times by Altamirano. I believe it was 2 or 3 by Lima, but those 2 or 3 were like, you're down for the round type thing. So we also haven't seen Kavanagh shoot for a takedown in his UFC debut or on the Contender Series. So that's another thing. It's like, are we even going to see that that be mixed into his game plan here? It'd be very smart to, because he does have the height disadvantage here by 3 inches and the reach disadvantage by 3 inches. It's a tough fight to pick.
I think it's incredibly tough to pick.
Yeah, I still think I'm going to take the hometown guy, Lonnie Kavanagh, to just edge out a split. I kind of want to say split decision win. I could see a 29-28 decision win. I
think he gets a close 29-28, and I think it's one of those fights where Felipe is looking good the whole time and just losing by a little bit, losing by a little bit. He'll lose around by a little bit, get outstruck by a little bit in some exchange. He'll have something really good and come back and get wobbled or something.
Maybe a takedown or two by Kavanagh as well. If he can mix that in, that'd be really beneficial for him.
Then I almost think he for sure wins, but I don't know how Felipe doesn't have more of a submission grappling bag.
He needs.
I honestly don't. It doesn't make sense, bro.
I don't know if I haven't really. I can't remember it. I can't.
Charles is gonna be in your corner, bro.
Yeah.
Get your submissions up.
Or just working on that ground game.
And I like him so much. So I just want to see him do good. But
I remember.
I think he's just gonna edge me and all the other Felipe fans and just be looking okay, and then get to the end and he'll just lose like a 29-28 decision or some shit.
Yeah. So my official pick's going to be Kavanagh, 29-28 decision. Could see a split though, honestly, but
I'm tailing.
On to our, I believe, is it the featured prelim of the night? Yeah.
Yep.
Featured prelim of the night here, we have Jai, the Black Country Banger Herbert, taking on Chris Taco Padilla. Jai Herbert 13-5-1, 3-4-1 in the UFC, compared to Chris Padilla 15-6, 2-0 in the UFC. Obviously, the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Jai Herbert, I'll leave it at this for as long as it lasts, because it gets annoying hearing this every fucking 2 seconds, is that he head kicked Topuria. He dropped him. Didn't finish him. He head kicked him, dropped him, and then himself got brutally KO'd about 3 or 4 minutes later.
I thought it was like 30 seconds off.
There was some time between them.
Okay.
Another thing I want to point out here is Jai's 37 compared to Padilla's 29, or he's almost 37, sorry. Jai Herbert's also got a 60% takedown defense compared to Chris Taco Padilla's 75% takedown accuracy. We saw on Chris Taco Padilla's debut against James Lontop, he caught that first round submission, rear naked choke, got on the takedown, jumped on the neck real fast, and he was a sizable underdog in that fight. So that was an impressive win, and we've seen Lontop. I believe he got cut now, but I think he got cut, but he
after the Roofy fight.
Yeah.
Was that his last fight?
Yeah, 0-3 in the promotion though. Really tough run.
That's tough, bro.
Yeah, I mean...
He'll be good. He's one of those guys who's going to be probably good in somewhere.
He's young. He's like 24, so give him a couple...
Damn.
Yeah, we got... So his losses were to Padilla, Vyacheslav Borshev, and Roofy.
That's so tough.
Yeah, and he didn't get finished by those 2 guys, but he did by Chris Taco Padilla. And I think that the submission is going to be the path to victory here for him against Jai Herbert. Herbert's a lengthy guy. He's 6'1" compared to Padilla's 5'9", with a 77-inch reach compared to a 74 for Padilla. If it comes down to a technical kickboxing fight, Jai Herbert wins those fights 9 times out of 10, man. He's pretty low output. He actually gets hit more than he lands, funny enough. You'd think about Jai Herbert, he's got these good movement, good English kickboxer, you think he doesn't get hit that much. His volume, he's actually getting hit more than he's landing though. However, in his last fight against Rolando Bedoya, that changed. He honestly looked amazing against Bedoya. I believe it was Bedoya's debut at 155 though, because I know he fought Chaos Williams and stuff at 170. But Jai had a knockdown in that fight. He had a takedown. He had, I think it was 86 significant strikes. So he put on some numbers in that fight. It was a good performance from the guy. Picked up a comfortable 30-27 win. Maybe 30-26, I can't even remember. However, Bedoya's just not great. He's not. I don't think he's one of...
That's what I was just thinking. I was just looking at his past fight, and I was like, Bro, I see you, and I just don't think you're that great.
No, I don't think he has a win in the promotion.
You're okay, and you have the heart to maybe be good, but I just don't think you're that good.
Who, Bedoya?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
like, he seems like one of those fighters who has crazy heart, like crazy like work ethic and drive, but just not all like crazy talented like that.
Well, like you know, Chaos Williams. Yeah. He was coming off that loss to Ismail Bonfim. Bedoya and Chaos Williams had like a fucking barn burner of a like striking battle. Which is very impressive from Bedoya to hold his own against Chaos in the striking, but he didn't against Jai. It was down a weight class, so you never really know. However, that win's just not great. I think that if Chris Taco Padilla is mixing up the takedowns like he usually does, he's gonna win this fight. He's got solid striking. We saw him win by TKO in his last fight over Rong Zhu, who's coming off that impressive win over Cody Steele. Chris Taco Padilla walked him down, landed good leg kicks and a dirty elbow, and I believe it like just destroyed his orbital bone. And Rong Zhu thought that it was an eye poke. He instantly put up his arm or his hand to his eye and was like, eye poke, eye poke, eye poke. Chris points to his elbow, lands it 3 more times, and they call the fight. Really sick finish. The guy's fucking good. He's got good knees, good striking, good elbows, clearly got a ground game. So I'm going to take the more well-rounded, younger fighter, Chris Padilla, to pick up a round 3 submission in this fight.
We're splitting on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take Jai Herbert.
You're taking Jai Herbert, eh?
I'm going to take the hometown boy.
You just think the experience and the...
But that's exactly what I was going to say, too. You literally just took the words out of my mouth. Because I don't even have anything else to really say about why I think he's going to win other than via experience.
Well, I mean, go to Jai's record.
I don't know if Chris Padilla goes 3-0. I don't think he's going to go 3-0 against Jai.
Okay, that's another thing. So I also believe that Chris Padilla is
love you, and I want to have you on our podcast. Let me just say.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, Chris, please. But I don't know. If we're behind the camera and I can say what I want to say, I think I'm gonna take Jai.
I believe that Chris Padilla is also. This is kind of going to be harsh to say, but I believe he's overperformed in the UFC a little bit. We weren't really expecting this from the guy.
Right.
Picking up a submission in his UFC debut.
Chris?
Yeah. Picking up that submission in his UFC debut as a big underdog. Then coming in and knocking out Rong Zhu, you know what I mean? And now he's fighting Jai Herbert. Like, we're really at this point in his career already. He's only 29. And again, when he was debuting, he was 13-6. Again, it's like kind of a journeyman record, but he had a lot of weird split decisions and robberies maybe on the lower end of the scene, so you never know. So
yeah, I'm gonna take Jai.
Who are Jai's losses though? I know they're all Faris Ziam, Ilya Topuria.
We lost to Trinaldo in his debut.
Yeah, by KO, right? By KO.
Yeah, by 3rd round KO. Then Moicano by sub in the second, so he started 0-2.
Okay.
And then his next loss after that.
Topuria.
Topuria.
And then Faris Ziam as his other loss, and he has a draw against Ludovic Klein, which is aging well. So I do see the experience from the hometown guy.
Decision. Oh, draw.
It was a draw. I believe there's a point deduction in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
For who?
I think that Jai would have probably eye-poked Ludovic.
That's your guess?
I think that's my guess. I think that happened, though. But yeah. So yeah, we're splitting on this one. I'm going Chris Padilla by submission.
I'm just going to take Jai Herbert moneyline. I don't really know if I have an exact... I mean, I'll say decision then. I feel like I say decision way too much for the amount of unexpected finishes that happen in this stupid sport sometimes, but I think I'm just going to take Jai by decision as my pick. I don't know if I'm going to bet on him by finish. Like, that's the thing. Like,
I wouldn't. I don't think he's going to put out Chris.
Yeah, no, it's tough.
He'll win by decision if he's going to win, in my opinion.
I'll take Jai, though. Fuck it.
Yeah, fucking Jai's only winning, or has 1 KO win in the UFC against some bum.
This fight's sick, so.
Yeah. Main card opener here, Nathaniel the Prospect Wood, the 31-year-old prospect, versus Morgan the Last Pirate Charriere. First thing I'm going to say is we need to change that nickname, Nathaniel. You're not a prospect anymore.
For real.
Like, are we a contender?
I was thinking that. I forgot that was his nickname. I thought you were calling him a prospect.
Might as well just make it fighter. Like, yeah, you're 31, bro. It's time to, advance. We're not a prospect anymore.
Nathaniel, the fighter, what?
The fighter, the contender,
nice.
the gatekeeper.
Nice.
He's 8-3 in the UFC. Nathaniel's very solid, man. He's got crisp boxing, good takedowns. Obviously, his first 3 fights in the UFC were all by submission, funny enough. So he's got that submission bag to him. The one thing that's been kind of iffy with Nathaniel Wood recently is his chin. He hasn't been getting knocked out. He has one knockout loss, obviously, to John Dodson. But John Dodson hit like a fucking mule. But again, in his last fight, he fought Daniel Pineda. He comfortably wins the first 2 rounds. And then in the 3rd round, I get that he already won the first 2. He coasted way too hard. He accepted bottom position. He accepted big round elbows. I believe he got wobbled a little bit in that 3rd round. It was a weird, I was like, what the fuck is this IQ? If you do that against Morgan Charrier,
you're done.
You're done, man.
You're done.
People look at Morgan Charrier's record, 20-10-1. They go, this guy's a gatekeeper.
They write him off.
They go, this guy's a gatekeeper. I'll go over some of his losses here in the regional scene. Well, his only loss, first of all, in the UFC, he's 2-1. His wins in the UFC are over Gabriel Miranda by KO in his last one, and then in his UFC debut over Manitola Zincini, I believe. It was by a liver kick TKO. It was really nice. And then in his last fight was a left hook. His only loss in the UFC is to Chepe Mariscal. In between those 2 wins by split decision, it was a fight that you could argue that Charrier won. Personally, I'd give it to Chepe, but there is the argument, of course.
Same. Yeah, obviously. I mean, when one of the judges has him winning, it's tough to argue against. But
it is.
I thought Chepe won that.
Morgan Charrier. So his losses. I'll go back to that. He's lost to Saladin Paranès. If you don't know him, he is one of the best French prospects in the world. He's 22-2. His other loss to Soren Bach. That guy's 16-1. He has a win over Paddy Pimblett before he went to the UFC. He lost a majority decision to Jordan Vucenic. He lost a split decision to Paul Hughes, and many more. These are, come on, we saw Paul Hughes versus Usman Nurmagomedov. I thought that he won that fight. So clearly that's showing these level of competition here. All these good things that I mentioned about Nathaniel Wood earlier as well, I think that Morgan Charrier does better. He has an 85% takedown defense. He has very solid wrestling. He has slick striking. He's got a great chin. He's never been knocked out. He has only 1 submission loss. I don't think that submission's also going to be coming here to Nathaniel Wood. And just with the amount that we've been seeing Nathaniel Wood get hurt recently, he got dropped once or twice by Andre Fili. Can you pull up Nathaniel Wood's record real quick? Because there was another fight that I wanted to talk about in there. Naimov. I mean, there was just a bunch of point penalties and stuff. But yeah, I mean, he got hurt a couple times in that fight as well. I just think when Morgan finds that good shot that wobbles him a little bit, he's going to be chasing down that finish, and I honestly think that he's going to get it. I think it'll be towards the end of round 2, maybe in round 3, but I'm going to take Morgan Charrier to find the TKO over Nathaniel Wood.
I feel like I'm being annoying by saying decision again, but I'm going to take Morgan by decision.
No, it's.
I don't know if I've seen Nathaniel Wood getting knocked out in his home country. I don't know. I just don't know if I see that. I don't know if I have evidence behind it either.
No, that's fair. 100%.
I think he'll just kind of have that hype behind him a little bit, with the crowd. I don't know if he's going to get knocked out by Morgan. Unless Morgan just finds that absolutely crazy shot and gets his 3rd knockout in the UFC in 4 fights it would be. Yeah. Which would be crazy. That kind of shoots him to the stars a little bit.
Especially over someone like Nathaniel Wood.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very game opponent.
Yeah, I'm going to take Morgan by decision, though.
Yeah, I'm going to take Morgan by KO. Won't be surprised if the decision's there, though. It's definitely there. And on to our next fight here. Jordan the Epidemic Vucenic takes on Chris Duncan. The odds here, minus 400 for Vucenic. Absolutely ridiculous to plus 285. If I told you who's 0-1 and who's 3-1 in the UFC and with those odds, you would say Chris Duncan is the favorite at minus 400, but no. Vucenic, 0-1 in the UFC. Big favorite here. Obviously, we saw him in his UFC debut versus Guram Kutateladze on short notice, up a weight class. He's decided that he must have felt good at 155 because he's staying at it. That's one thing I'd like to point out here. The height here, 5'10" for both guys. Vucenic with a 2-inch reach advantage. Vucenic wasn't very impressive in his UFC debut, obviously. Dropping Guram, almost winning that 2nd round to win that fight. If he got that nod over Guram, that would have been a fucking unbelievable win.
The timeline
unbelievable win. But he didn't. And I sometimes have a hard time picking these huge favorites coming in to their second UFC fight after they fight a dog in their debut and lose. We saw that with Carlos Leal versus Renat Fakhretdinov. He lost to Renat and then comes in against Morono as a minus 800 favorite. Obviously, he lived up to the hype. He round one KO'd him. Jordan Vucenic here, he has slick jiu-jitsu. We didn't get to see that a whole lot because Guram is a solid wrestler. He does hold the top position pretty well. However, Chris Duncan's only loss in the UFC is a round one guillotine. I believe he was out cold to Manuel Torres. Manuel Torres, ever since losing to Ignacio Bahamondes, kind of just fell off the face of the earth. We don't talk about him anymore at all. Exactly. People probably forget him. He's actually the co-main to UFC Mexico versus Drew Dober, where I think that he's getting set up to get KO'd, in my opinion.
That's going to be a sick fight, though.
Yeah, it will be. Vucenic's last 5 wins have all been by submission in multiple ways. And Chris Duncan's last fight was a round one guillotine himself over Balaji the Zulu Warrior Oki. He subbed him completely out cold. I don't think anyone in the arena knew that the guy was out besides Chris Duncan. Like, the ref had no idea when to call him in. Chris Duncan was like waving him over pretty much like this guy's out. And when they took him off, the guy was snoozing. So Chris Duncan's got a hard fight here, man. His wins in the UFC haven't been too impressive. Obviously, he had that really nice comeback win on the Contender Series over Charlie Campbell. He's fought on the Contender Series twice. His first time he got knocked out by Vyacheslav Borshev. Then came back, beat Charlie Campbell, and then I believe he made his UFC debut against Omar Morales, if that's his name, and won a split decision or a close decision. It's just not a great win. I think that I'm going to call a kind of risky play here, but I think that it's going to be pretty even on the feet. However, I think that Jordan is going to land a similar bomb that he landed on Vucenic, or on Guram, and I think that it's going to cause Chris Duncan to shoot for a desperation takedown where Vucenic's going to snatch up that guillotine and submit him. Okay. So I'm going to take Jordan, and I think it'll be early. So I'm going to take Jordan Vucenic round one submission. But yeah, Vucenic decision is live all day and the submission, but I think it'll be in the first round.
I think I could definitely do more looking into Vucenic before I take an actual method for how he's going to win in this fight. Because I think Duncan's a tiny bit hard to put out for him, but I'm going to take Vucenic money line probably, although it's not as good as it should be.
Yeah.
But I think he'll make the fight look like the odds should be closer, if that makes sense. So he probably won't live up to minus 345.
It definitely.
But I think he's going to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, both of Duncan's losses are one by KO, one by sub. So we'll see. I'm going to take Vucenic by submission.
Give me Vucenic by TKO.
Alrighty. On to our next one here. A decent female MMA fight here. We got Molly Meatball McCann taking on the debuting Alexia Thainara. We watched Alexia Thainara's Contender Series fight against Rose Cohen-Trau the other day.
It's actually sick.
It was pretty sick. There's a lot of things to highlight, a lot of things to talk about, a couple concerns as well. She's very aggressive, Thainara. Like, extremely aggressive for a girl, honestly, I'll be honest. Like, you don't see these female MMA fighters fighting like her, I'll tell you that. She fights like a dude. She throws legit power. She looks for the takedowns. She had solid trips, had some decent top time. She does have submissions in her game, and she has cardio for days. We saw her, I believe the significant strike counts was like 40, 38, and 35 or something round for round for Thainara. And for the last 10 seconds, they pointed to the ground. They started swanging and banging. And right when that final bell rang, Thainara did a cartwheel in the middle of the octagon. Like, she was ready to go for 3 more rounds. Yeah. So that was really good to see. You don't like to see these people gassing out, obviously, on the Contender Series and shit like that. The negatives, though, to her is the way that she enters the pocket and the way that she leaves the pocket. She will be standing there with her chin up in the air, going in, throwing these haymakers, and as she leaves, she's leaving like this with her hands kind of like away from her.
I remember you saying that, actually.
Yeah, it's especially for someone like Molly McCann, who actually has knockout power for the women's weight classes here. She had back-to-back spinning elbow knockouts over Hannah Goldie and Luana Carolina, and like very impressive shit there. Who cares about the competition when you're pulling that shit out? I mean, Luana Carolina, I believe, is on like a 4-fight winning streak now for some reason.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing?
What are we doing? I remember the first time I saw her. I saw her fight. I was just like, are we serious right now?
What is
like,
this?
That person's on a 4-0 wins or 4-fight wins.
Yeah.
All right.
Molly Meatball McCann, on the other hand, not in a great run of form. So she's 35 now, compared to Thayanara, I believe, is 27. So there's a good age gap here for McCann. Not too impressive recent fights as of late. She got armbarred by Julia Stoliarenko. She got submitted and dominated by Erin Blanchfield.
Blanche is good. I love her.
Blanche is great. Blanche is great. There's no taking that away from her. She did get sheerly dominated. Can you pull up Molly's record real quick, though? I'm blanking on a win that she picked up. Was it over Deanna Babida?
Yeah. That was her last. That was her first sub.
Who's first sub?
Molly McCann's in the UFC.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because that leads into my point. I was going to say I'm honestly going to take a long shot pick and say Molly McCann by sub.
Babida has no ground game. Some of the worst ground game I've ever seen, though.
Oh, Babida.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, this fight's tough to call. Thayanara's on short notice. Molly McCann was supposed to be fighting Estela Nunez, and she was like a minus 500 favorite in that fight. Molly McCann was. So now she's a fucking plus 150 underdog compared to the debuting.
All right, cool.
And the reason for that, I believe, is just this aggression. Obviously, Alexia is very green. She's 11-1. Her only loss is to Bruna Brazil by submission. Molly McCann also has lost to Bruna Brazil. So it's just kind of it's a styles make fights type of matchup here. Do you think that Molly's kind of gonna get? I don't think that Molly's gonna win this decision here. I think that Thayanara is a bit too aggressive here. That if she doesn't end up getting chinned, that Thayanara is either probably gonna. She could win anyway, in my opinion. Like, I've seen that she does have these submissions.
Thayanara?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was just looking at. I forget what it is off the top of my head, but she has a pretty good submission win percentage.
Yeah. So the submissions live, she could just dominate Molly a little bit to a decision.
55% win rate in submission.
So about
9 by KO and 36 by decision.
Wow. So she's a finisher.
Yeah, higher percentage to win by submission than decision. I think she gets subbed. I don't know.
Who you think she gets subbed?
Yeah, I think Molly actually might get her second submission win. I don't know. Maybe I'm just so hometown biased influenced right now. I don't think Molly's gonna lose. I think she wins via experience being home. Like, I don't know.
I'm gonna take Thayanara to win by decision.
I almost want Thayanara to just knock her shit out and just have a good highlight and have some hype behind her.
Yeah. I can see that as well.
For real, with the hands that we saw in that Contender Series fight, that was a Contender Series fight, right? Yeah. Dude, she looked good. Like, she's legit.
I'm gonna take her by decision, but I won't be like a finish is live. Like, it's hard to say KO, sub, or decision when she's fighting clearly. She's one of those fighters.
Yeah. Which
is good, honestly. Alrighty, so on to our featured bout here. Kevin Trailblazer Holland takes on Gunnar Nelson.
Fight of the night for me.
It's a fight. It's a fight for sure. It's a fight in the night.
It's a fight in the night.
It's a fight in the night. That's what I have to say.
It's a fight in the night.
Whenever Kevin Holland fights these days, I just can't. I'm so skeptical about the guy.
100%, but...
Kevin Holland's 26-13. He's 13-10 in the UFC compared to Gunnar Nelson's 19-5-1, 10-5 in the UFC. Kevin Holland has all the tools to be a great fighter. It's just a matter of a fact if he shows up to the occasion.
He just has to be there.
He has to want it.
He has to be there in his head, not thinking about a 45.
Yeah, in my opinion, since he got... he had to have got an insane amount of money to fight Khamzat Chimaev. 100%.
Well, that just ruined his spirit.
And since that fight, I believe that he's just kind of showing up for a paycheck. I bet that the UFC pays the guy really well to show.
They do.
And he's kind of abusing that, I think, recently. He's just kind of abusing that. He's just showing up and half-assing these fights. Like, you can't tell me he tried against Rainier de Ridder. No. You can't.
100%.
It wasn't Holland in there. And then he gets hurt against Delidze, but he was getting dominated. It looks like Holland always is looking for this way out. His only win in his last 5 fights is Michael Olejniczak by armbar, where he got dropped. He got brutally dropped in that fight. However, he did have a fucking amazing finish to that fight, obviously snapping Olejniczak's arm. The submission, in my opinion, in this fight for Holland is non-existent. He's not landing a submission. If he does, bet that, please, because you'll be happy with yourself. Yeah,
I might.
Gunnar Nelson has the most submissions in welterweight history. He has 8. 8 of his 10 wins are by submission, and he has all sorts of ways that he gets it done. One thing I will say is he's very weird at getting takedowns. He doesn't do the traditional double leg, single leg. He grabs onto limbs, and he will work. He'll just kind of put his will on you once he grabs you and just kind of pull you to the ground a little bit. And I've heard the narrative here about how it's going to be a little bit hard for him to get the takedowns.
I don't think
Holland throws a lot of these side kicks, and they're really lazy. And I think that Gunnar's actually going to be able to catch these and use them to his advantage by just you can easily just grind the pipe on a single leg there once you have the front kick or the side kick caught, obviously. And when this goes to the ground, it's Gunnar Nelson land all fucking day, dude. Coming off that round 1 armbar win. It was 2 years ago over Brian Barberena. Again, not great competition either, but it was slick, man. And it's one of those ones where right when he gets you to the ground, he's submission hunting the second he gets there. Holland, what's his biggest weakness? It seems to be submission heavy hunting grapplers. That's all Gunnar Nelson's looking to do. There is a world here. Gunnar Nelson hasn't fought in 2 years, obviously. He's 36 years old. A little fun fact is since 2019, Gunnar Nelson's fought 2 times. Kevin Holland's fought 23 times.
That's so fucked.
Unbelievable activity difference between the guys. However,
but it's not even good activity all the time, so it's like...
I was going to say, however, sure, you fight 23 times. I'd like to see how many fights you won.
Exactly.
Because I know in his last 14 fights, he's won fucking 4.
He's just fighting the fight. He's not fighting to get better.
He's fighting for money. He's fighting for money.
He's one of my favorite fighters. It pisses me off so much. It's honestly sad to see.
He's fighting for money. He's made that very known, obviously. He doesn't care about the belt. And I just think he has built-in excuses every single time the guy fights. I'm waiting for it this time. However, this is a fight that Holland can win. He only loses to the best of the best at 170. His 3 losses are to Wonderboy, MVP, and Jack Della Maddalena, all in pretty close fights.
Where was his last fight at?
85. His last 2 have been at 85 versus Rainier de Ridder and Delidze.
Okay.
So I
forgot about that.
Yeah, so I'm also hearing another thing that Holland's been... He's trying this training camp. He's made it to 170. Holland walks around at 190. It really doesn't take him much to actually cut down to 170. The guy could probably fucking make lightweight if he wanted to really make a cut for himself. You know what I mean? One of those Dustin Poirier 190 to 145 type of cuts. Exactly. He could do that. There is a world where Holland gets back on track here. He finds probably a KO, I think, if he wins. Or a dominant decision. The decision would be, obviously, if Gunnar's not getting this fight to the ground, he's really struggling with the takedowns, then I think that it's kind of just a sitting duck.
I want to bet on him so bad.
Yeah.
I really do.
However, I will be taking Gunnar Nelson to win by submission.
I think I'm taking Gunnar by points.
By points? Interesting.
Well, I originally had him by submission. I don't know if Holland's going to get submitted, though.
Again?
What?
He gets submitted all the time.
I know, but I don't know. Just the
Versus
feeling
the
I have, I think he's going
to
to threaten it 7 times, and I do honestly think we might disagree on that. I think Holland has a chance to submit him, honestly, but I do think it'll be threatened a whole bunch, and this fight could be on the ground for about 10 of the 15 minutes, maybe scattered across. But I think Gunnar's probably going to take it by points or submission.
Yeah, that's valid.
Which I don't want to see. I want to see Holland win. I want to see him be fucking good. Pisses me off.
I'm going to take Gunnar by round 1 sub.
By round 1 sub?
Yeah.
I would hate to see that, bro. That would just be so disheartening.
It would be pretty shitty, but I am honestly a big fan of Gunnar Nelson. I like him. I'm going to take him by sub. Co-main event here. Jan Polish Power Blachowicz takes on Carlos Blackjack Oberg. I'm going to point out the odds here. Plus 185 for Jan Blachowicz, the former champion, compared to minus 280 for the prospect at 34 years old, Carlos Oberg. We say prospect maybe to Jan Blachowicz because that guy's turning 43 soon. So there's a few things to talk about there. Jan Blachowicz in his last couple fights, he lost his last fight in 2023 on I believe it was the Poirier versus Gaethje 3 card. He lost a split decision to Alex Pereira. Both guys gassed out. It was at Elevation in Denver, I believe. Weird first round there where Blachowicz took him down, dominated him, threatened the rear naked choke a couple times, and then just kind of faded a little bit. He was faded. So did Alex, though. It was a weird card.
I feel like that just makes it better, though.
Yeah.
I have said that about everyone that I think fights in Denver and has a decent performance, at least whether you win or lose. I think it does just make you a better fighter.
Yeah.
Because it's just simply, aside from the opponent, the circumstances are going to be easier no matter where else you fight. So
that's true. And then before then, Blachowicz obviously went to the draw, I believe. It was that fight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he went to the draw with Magomed Ankalaev for the title. Probably should have lost that one.
I agree.
Obviously had Ankalaev in like physically worse shape due to the leg kicks. He had him hopping around, but eventually Ankalaev did score a 10-8 round. He had a dominant takedown on him and just kind of destroyed him from there. Gave it a draw, which I found a little bit interesting. And then the fight before that for Jan, he won by TKO against Alexander Rakic. However, Rakic blew his knee out in that fight. And then the fight before that was when he lost his belt to old man Glover Teixeira. Since losing the belt to Teixeira, we've kind of seen that downfall in Jan Blachowicz. Obviously, the age is getting up there. But he is obviously fighting the top of the barrel competition.
It's tough to say down. I feel like after this one, you can say downfall about that. Because if he loses to Oldberg, then yeah, sure, he's on a downfall from Teixeira. But like he beat Rakic right after, and then a draw with the current champ and a split against the former champ.
Yeah.
So
I mean, his win was an ACL injury in there, but just the output and the volume of Jan Blachowicz in his last 3 fights has been significantly less than what we've seen in his former.
Exactly. We were just talking about that.
Compared to Carlos Oberg here, 7-1 in the UFC. His only loss comes to Kennedy Nzechukwu by KO in his UFC debut. It was a fight that he was up 2-0, and he did fade in that 3rd round, which begs the question of how Oberg is going to do in this 3rd round here. He got hit with a big check left hook. It sent him down, and that was that. But since then, he's racked off a great winning streak. Lots of KOs, had 1 submission in there against Woon Jung. And then in his last fight, obviously winning a unanimous decision over Volkan Oezdemir. In a pretty boring fight, actually, though. You kind of expected that one to be a little bit more entertaining than it was.
Yeah.
I expected a lot more from Volkan Oezdemir, personally. I thought that he was kind of on his little second resurgence there after the knockout over Johnny Walker. I forget who else. He had a couple decent wins in there, though, that he was picking up.
Mm-hmm.
But Oberg did win that fight. Just did enough to get the unanimous decision there. I think I'm going to have to side with Carlos Oberg in this fight. I think that he's just going to out-volume Jan Blachowicz a little bit. He's going to do what he has to do to win this fight. He knows he's going to have to check leg kicks, but he trains with Israel Adesanya. He trains with the City Kickboxing boys. When it comes to kickbox for kickbox, you're probably not going to outdo him unless your name's Alex Pereira. So
Oberg?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm just talking about like the City Kickboxing boys. Like it's kind of hard to fucking outdo those guys on the feet.
Yeah, exactly.
So the path to victory here is going to be Jan Blachowicz mixing in those takedowns, obviously. But I just don't know how effective he's going to be down there nowadays.
I think he will be, actually.
You think he will be effective?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be annoying, and he's going to be good at it, and Oberg's going to almost be not ready for it by the looks of it, as he should be fucking ready for it.
He should be, for sure.
What else do you really train against, or what else do you really train for against Jan? But So yeah, I can see a world where Carlos avenges Izzy and gets a decision win. I don't know about a knockout, honestly. I feel like...
No, I think he wins a decision.
Yeah.
I think Oberg wins a decision.
But if I have to go with an official pick, I'm probably going to take the plus 200 Jan Blachowicz in this fight.
Yeah, the value's all on Blachowicz, of course. You're
Yeah.
kind of just questioning here, 43 years old.
Or plus 185.
Last couple fights,
Plus
he's been
200.
fading a little bit versus the guy who's got a little bit of momentum, or lots of momentum, honestly, going for him. Titles in reach if he wins this fight. Light heavyweight needs new prospects. I don't really think we evolve with Jan Blachowicz getting back into the picture, obviously.
No.
There is a world, though, where I have written down here Jan Blachowicz to win by round 3 ground and pound TKO.
I can see that. Ground and pound, I can honestly see that.
Yeah, I have changed my pick on that, but that definitely is still here. I do think that Oberg here is just kind of going to make good evasive movements here, keep Jan at range, land his own good leg kicks, maybe mix up a couple head kicks and body kicks, and win himself a 29-28 decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of want to see Oberg win. I really do, but I'm probably going to take Jan by decision. Yeah. You said Oberg decision?
Mm-hmm. Main event time. Leon Rocky Edwards takes on Sean Brady. Really interesting fight here for a welterweight title clash, aspirations in the future for the winner. I believe the loser might get fed to like Joaquin Buckley, or the winner, honestly. Maybe the winner of this gets Joaquin Buckley, the winner of that gets a title shot. I think that's pretty valid, honestly. Because if Leon wins this, they're not going to do another rematch between him and Bilal. Mm-hmm. They'll make him fight Buckley. I feel like that makes sense, actually. Because Buckley needs a fight. Leon Edwards, 22-4-1 no contest. He's 14-3-1 in the UFC. Sean Brady, 17-1, 7-1 in the UFC. Obviously, his only loss coming by standing TKO to Bilal Muhammad. First thing I want to say is, before that Bilal Muhammad fight, Sean Brady was talking the talk like he was the future GOAT of the sport. He was begging for his title shot. He was pissed off whenever someone got a title shot over him. And the Bilal Muhammad loss really put him back into the earth, honestly, and said, we got to hit the reset board. We got to switch up the mentality here. I'm not as good as I think I am. I finally lost my undefeated record. It's obviously to the current champ, Bilal Muhammad, who's one of the best welterweights of all time, in my opinion. The guy's sublime.
Bilal?
Yes, he is.
I hate him.
He's fucking insane, man.
I hate him.
Sean Brady, though, since losing to Bilal, he picked up that round 3 Kimura win over Kevin Gastelum, where he just completely dominated him. He looked amazing in that fight. And then in his last fight was a 5-round main event over Gilbert Burns, where he 50-45'd him, landing 7 takedowns of his own. One thing I'm going to say here about Leon is, in Leon's last 4 fights, he's been taken down 20 times. And Sean Brady, in his last 4 fights, has landed 20 takedowns.
Damn.
So it really, when you put it into that perspective, and especially Leon got taken down 9 times in his last fight. One thing I'll say about Leon is, he got taken down 9 times by Bilal, sure. He also landed 2 takedowns of his own. Leon also landed takedowns against Colby. He landed takedowns against Kamaru Usman. He's very egotistical, Leon. He's going to try and do stuff that you do really well, and he's going to say, like, okay, I can do it too. He's going to try and take down Sean Brady a little bit in this fight. I guarantee it, because Brady's going to be getting these takedowns. It's not going to be good for Leon doing this. It's not. And I do see him doing it. I swear he's going to try and ego battle him a little bit here in the O2. Obviously, where he got that round 5 KO over Kamaru Usman. So he does like this arena. Mm-hmm. But Sean Brady lands 3.5 takedowns per 15 minutes. His first main event, obviously, in his last fight, he landed 7. So, against Gilbert Burns, this guy has some of the most credentialed jiu-jitsu in the UFC, and he's not afraid to take him down 7 times at will. It's pretty impressive. Imagine what he's thinking about when he's on the ground with Leon.
Yeah.
So, I just think that the takedowns are going to be way too overwhelming for Leon. I don't think Brady's going to even care to stand on the feet with Leon, because Leon's very good at dragging you into these slow, technical kickboxing fights, and he loves that shit. He's not gonna like where the threat of the takedown isn't there because you're just moving so slow that he's able to get out of range. He's able to kind of just land his 1-2. He's able to land that leg kick and just keep you at distance. We saw it in the Colby fight best, obviously. Obviously, he got taken out a couple times in that fight, but then he returns with his own takedowns to make it kind of balance that out.
That was gross, though.
It was. But yeah, I just think that the wrestling here is going to be a little bit too much for him. I think that Sean Brady's going to take himself home a 48-47 unanimous decision. What are your thoughts on that?
I think I can tell that. Because I don't think he's going to finish Leon.
I
don't think Leon wins. I think there's a world where he does.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I just don't think he's going to. I feel like he almost should. But yeah, I think he's just going to have a little letdown in front of the fans and maybe bounce back in his next one. I don't really know. Leon's really hit or miss for me.
Is it a crazy take to say that Leon, if he won, would probably be by KO?
No. I was already thinking that.
I don't think he wins it. I think it'd be very hard for him to win this decision. Just like
if it goes the distance, he probably got controlled for a little bit. This and that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. 48-47.
Maybe Brady won. Yeah. But I don't know. You don't think he wins by decision though? Like I
think that Sean Brady's better than.
He could.
I think that Sean Brady's better than Colby.
Okay.
And I just think that
I want to say Sam.
And I think that the way that Leon beat Colby wasn't very impressive in hindsight, and I think that just the fact that Brady's a better Colby.
Yeah, okay.
I think that he just kind of might, you know how Leon kind of not just outdid Colby, but like he beat him, but like not very comfortably.
Colby also looked like shit.
He looked terrible. There was that hand.
Like Leon could have done so much more, and
that's the narrative in all of these Leon fights. Kamaru versus Leon 3 was best. He had that Kamaru was Grandpa Kamaru. Like, I don't care, man. I love Leon, and I honestly love Kamaru. I took him for granted. And Leon really could, like, it was like a 48-47 majority decision. There's like a 46 or 47-47 in there or something, because there was a point deduction from Leon. But he could have just pulled away in that fight a lot more, and that's something that he kind of struggles with, I think. He struggles from separating himself from the decision a little bit, and I think that that's kind of going to come back and bite him in the ass a little bit here against Sean Brady. So I'm going to take Brady to win a close decision in this fight.
Same with me. I'm going to take Brady by decision.
Yeah.
Probably close. Could be a boring fight. But yeah, give me Brady. I want to see Leon win. I honestly do. I want to see Leon be good. I've always been a voucher for him, I feel like. But yeah, I think Brady's going to just outdo him. I think he is going to want it more. I think it's almost his fight to win kind of thing.
Who, Brady?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, give me Brady by decision.
Yeah. And that'll do it. Those are our full card predictions and breakdowns. We'll be back next week.